Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jesse, and today I'm going to introduce you to a new project that I'm working on, and we're going to try to do a little bit of work. Specifically, we're going to try to upload an image, then get a URL back uh, with the location of that image, and then display the image in the UI. If we can get that working, maybe we'll work on some other stuff. Maybe we'll finish up there, but I think that'll be pretty good accomplishment for one live stream here. So here's the project. We have a React app built with Create React app. Okay, we're running some TypeScript in here. Not everything is TypeScript, but we do have some TypeScript files. Slowly transitioning over to that. I'm using Material UI for the user interface, and you can see in the upper right hand corner we have some of the Material UI components here. This is an admin dashboard. So basically the app's going to take in some data to create advertisements for a social media app. So the social media app, like many social media apps, is going to display ads. This is going to be the place for a user to go to create an ad and set where that ad's going to display at. So if you've ever used like Facebook ads or something, this is going to be kind of a similar concept, although Facebook ads is way more complex than what we're working on here. We're also using, for the backend, AWS Amplify with GraphQL. So AWS Amplify is like a very quick way to get started with Amazon Web Services and build out a backend. By default, it uses GraphQL for the API. I like GraphQL. I like it better than REST APIs most of the time. So that's what we're going to be using here. We do have a custom Lambda function to upload the image. So if you're going to be uploading an image with AWS Amplify, it may be a little bit different than what we're doing here. The reason we have a custom Lambda function is that we have Amazon recognition scanning the image to see if it's appropriate to put on our app. So if the image contains any objectionable material, then we return back a response that says that, hey, upload a different image, this one's not going to work. Also, if the image is too large, it returns back a message saying upload a different image. So eventually we'll probably want to display those error messages to the user. Right now they're just coming back in the API call. But for now, let's just get the image going. So you can see here I've actually done a test image, and this is the response that we get. Let me make sure it's not covered up. Let me make it bigger for you all and make sure it's not covered up by my picture. And I'm going to stretch that out here. Yeah, it is getting covered up. Let me make this, pull it up a little bit here. This is the response that we get back. So we get back the location of the image in an Amazon S3 bucket, and then safe image equals true, right? If the image had objectionable content, we would get a false back, and I believe we would not get a URL back because we would just reject that image. Okay, so this image is good, and it's actually an image of Bill Murray. If you've seen any of my previous streams, you know I like using Bill Murray for placeholder images. So that's the response that we need to get here, and then display here in the app. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's the plan. I'm going to make a piece of state in our React component that's going to be just the image URL. If the image URL exists, we're not going to display this input. Instead, we're actually going to display the image. Okay, so pretty simple for now. I'm going to keep it simple because I've got a meeting at 2 p.m. Actually, I'm going to double check right now what time my meeting is. Yep, it is at 2 p.m. Sometimes my meetings get changed around, but so I got a hard stop here in about an hour. But until then, we're going to try to get as much done as we can. Hey, Michael, how's it going? See, Michael's joining us in the stream. Yeah, so AWS Amplify is GraphQL by default. Now, you don't have to stick with GraphQL. You could use So the database is DynamoDB behind the scenes, and you could potentially just have a REST API directly with your DynamoDB data. But I like GraphQL, so we're sticking with GraphQL, and with Amplify, it's easier to do it that way anyway. All right, so here's our image upload stuff right now. So right now we upload the image, we get the file. So this is how you get a file when you upload an image. Let me make this bigger. This is probably way too small for y'all to see. That's better. I'm gonna make the terminal smaller because we don't really need to worry about that right now. But we have this upload image function. So when you upload the image, we grab the actual file. So from the event, we event target files, and then we pick the first one in the array. And then we're using this file reader. All right, this comes built in the browser. I'm not sure what the which browsers support this, but modern browsers are going to support this. But if you need to like backwards compatibility, you may not be able to use this. But the reason we're using this is that my Lambda function, and a Lambda function is it's just a little bit of code that runs in the background on AWS Lambda, right? So that's their like serverless function service. So we need to upload it as a base 64 for that Lambda function. So we use this file reader and we read it as a data URL. And then because we're reading it as a data URL, we have this event listener. When the image is loaded, then we can do reader.result, and that'll give us the image as a base 64. So as base 64 data. I think I'm still console logging it, so let me show you what it looks like. So it's pretty hard to read here, but basically this is what it does. It turns the image file into this long string, okay, which is nonsense to people, but computers know what to do with it, right? So that's the format we need the data in. Let me take out that console log because we don't really need it, and I'm going to take this comment out. And I haven't actually put in any error messages or anything yet. So this is just very basic. Like literally just earlier today, I got this working. So you haven't missed much in terms of the image upload. All right, so let's create our piece of state. I'm just going to do it right here. So we're going to go const. We're using React, so a functional component. So we're going to use hooks for state, and let's say image URL, set image URL equals use state. And it's going to be an empty string for now. I guess we'll have an empty string, or can we just, I think I just leave it as nothing for now. We don't need a base state. All right. So now in our code, let me stretch this out so we can see. There we go. So if anybody has any questions, please put them in the live chat. I'm going kind of fast because I want to get something completed in this stream, but feel free to ask questions and I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. But we need, let's see, select cover image is the text. Oh, here we go. All right, so this input is, and this label here, actually this entire grid here, we want to remove this and only display it if we don't have an image. So let's go image URL. If we have an image URL, we want to display our image. So for now, I'm just going to put a little div with typography. I'm just going to put the word image in here just so we have something to display. Okay, so this is called a ternary. That's what I'm doing here. So this is basically like an if statement. So it says if we have an image URL, display this. And then this little colon here means else. So else we want to display this grid. All right, so let's save that. And we should see no change in the UI when we save this. And we didn't see a change. Let me refresh just to be sure. It should auto refresh, but all right, see, we have no image here. Now, we could test this out, and I could say, like, I'm just going to put something in here just to test. Now, that should change the UI, and see, now we see the word image. Okay, so the reason we put this in state, if you're not familiar with React, is the React component will listen. So React will listen for changes in state and then re-render the UI based on changes in state. Okay, so we don't have to worry about handling that ourselves. React handles that. But anytime you have data that may change and you want that change reflected immediately in the UI, you want to put that in state. For the most part, you basically want to put that in state. Okay. So let's get rid of this now, and let's actually set the URL. I guess we could do this one of two ways. Let's set the URL first. So we'll handle the data side first, then we'll actually worry about displaying the image. So I'm going to move this up. I want to move it up to the top here. We don't really have to. JavaScript, you can declare a variable after you actually use it. JavaScript can still handle that, but just for readability, I'm going to declare this up here above our function where we're going to use it. So what we're going to get is we're getting the upload generic image data that we had here, which it's probably not available anymore. Let's try to... Whoop, did I save this? Let's save that. I want to get my image uploader back up here. All right, so let's go to image. I have this. You can see I just did my taxes. We got the tax documents there. So I've already downloaded this demo image. And we're going to check out our network response, which you can't see right now because my face is covering it up. There we go. So we're going to see location is what we want. So we want location. That'll give us the URL. So if we're successful and we have the image data, right now we're just console logging it, which I didn't realize we were console logging it. Let's check our console. I just want to verify. Yep. So location is what we want. And is that? Yeah, there we go. So we want image data dot location. So instead of console logging this, we are going to set image URL to image data dot location. And what we should see now, we'll do a refresh. And what we should see is that when we upload this image this time, it should change. Yep, there we are. So once we get that successful response back, we've now changed the UI and we're going to display the image. So the next step is let's actually display this image, right? Now I've been working in React Native for, I don't know, 2 years now, primarily in React Native. This app is actually React. So my instincts tell me to use an image component, but in reality, that's not what you use in React. So we're going to go back to my HTML days. I need to find where we're at. There we are. And we want to put in image, whoops, img, and then it's source, right? Oops, source. And we can put in our, oops, yeah, we need, what did I call that? Image URL, yep. I'm going to put an image URL, And then I believe I can close it like that. What's it telling me? It's telling me something. Must have an alt prop. Okay. Alt. And our alt prop is going to say business logo. So in this case, for this particular form, this would be like, hey, it worked. I didn't even expect it to work right away. But this is the logo that we have here. You can see we probably are going to want to format this a little bit, but for now at least, hey, it works. We've got the image back. This particular form would be like, if we have a new business that would like to advertise, we're going to put in the info for this new business. Okay, so that's where we want the business logo to go in here. We probably should say something like, we prefer the logo to be, I believe, like 300 by 300. So business logo, and let's put 300 by 300. Whoops. I don't know why I put that in curly brackets. I meant to put it in parentheses. There we are. All right, so save that. Just make sure it looks all right. There we go, 300 by 300. And this is not meant to be mobile friendly yet, so I'm not worried about that. All right, cool. We got somebody in the chat. TK Shillings is super interested in this stuff. Awesome. Well, hopefully it's helpful to you. All right, so we've got the image in here. Now, granted, this image isn't 300 by 300. It's like 300 by 200 or something like that. But I still would maybe like to make the styles work a little better. So let's see what we're going to do with this. So image style. I can't remember what the CSS is for the image. I want it to be like contain. Somebody help me out if you remember. What's the if I want the image to be bound by certain dimensions? It's slipping my mind. I use this all the time. All right, I might have to look it up, but I do have a question here. It says, I missed the very beginning. What is this for? Okay, so this is an admin panel to be able to put in advertisements for a social media app. Unfortunately, this is not an open source project, at least not yet. One day I'd like to maybe open source some of it, at least some of it. So I can't share the repo with you, but I can do the live streams. Let me see. All right, let's look this up. I'm gonna look up CSS for images on my other screen. And just see if I can jog my memory. All right, so I've been a software engineer for a long time, and I can't remember how to style an image. So if any of you are also forgetting little things sometimes, then don't worry. It happens to everyone. Bordering. Looking at this article, and all it told me to style an image was to put a border radius and a width on it. Not really what I wanted, but at the very least, we can, I guess, put a width on it. Since we're expecting 300 by 300, maybe we can. But to be honest, I don't think we can, because this is not big enough. This entire like section is not big enough to handle that. So let's just put, we'll test it out in here with, let's try 200 and height 200. Oops, I gotta put pixels. Like I said, I'm used to React Native, which you don't have to put units in. So let's put pixels in. with 200. It kind of stretches it out, but it's okay for now. We're going to ask users to upload a square image. So I think 200 by 200 actually looks pretty good um, for this card size. Like I said, we don't have to worry about this being mobile friendly. This is an admin panel that we expect right now just a few people to use. So we're not super worried about the styling. The functionality is more what we want. But I really don't want that image going over the edge here. So if we just add a width and a height, that should be good for now. So let's go back to our code and add a width and a height. Now, what we can do here is add a class name. And let's give it a class name of classes dot, and let's say logo. Or let's go business logo, because we might have a logo already somewhere else. So classes dot business logo, and now let's go to where we actually have our classes at, which where are we displaying classes at? Oh, you know what? I think we have it in a separate file. We do. So we've exported our classes to a separate styles.js file. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom here and add in the class business logo. And we're going to say width 200 pixels. Oops. Do I need... I think it's going to let me do... Oh, yeah. Width 200, height 200. All right, so when we do styles like this, we're basically doing it as a JavaScript object. So you see it looks a little bit different than normal CSS. So that's why you could see like there's no hyphens. Instead, it's camel case. Slightly different than you would normally do CSS. But you can see now that we'll do a refresh and the styles should be applied. Whoops. Let's upload that image again, just to verify it's working. Uh-oh. The styles didn't get loaded. I think I didn't save the other file. Let's save this file. There we go. So once we save the file, we can see the styles do get loaded in. And even though we didn't put units on that, it automatically added in pixels. So pixels are the default. Okay. Oh, I got a bunch of questions. Let me look at the questions here. All right, so hey Marie, how's it going? Thanks for joining us. Marie says, love it. I'm working on an admin portal for my project as well. Oh, awesome. Oh, Michael says object fit contain. Thank you. I asked a question and then I forgot to look over to see if anybody answered it. That's what I was looking for. Drew's here too. Hey Drew, how's it going? And oh, okay. So TK, that is Kirk. What's up, Kirk? Totally slipped my mind that was you. So Drew says I found myself missing CSS lately. I've been in Tailwind land for so long. How is Tailwind? So I see a lot of people talking about Tailwind, but I don't know that much about it and haven't used it yet myself. So let me know what why would one use Tailwind, and what is awesome about Tailwind. And while I'm waiting for replies here, let me show you some of the Amplify GraphQL side of things. So this image is just one part of a larger form here, right? So we definitely need to add in this image to the form. So now that we actually have this data saved in state, we can take the image URL and add it in here. So right now we're sending a user ID, email, name, phone number, business location, personal email, and owner ID. But we also need to add in the image. So I believe on our input, let's see, is this TypeScript? No, I didn't turn this into TypeScript yet. That would have made things easier. But let's bring up the schema. Okay, so this is our GraphQL schema. And this is kind of the AWS Amplify part of things. And let's find our business profiles here, which I thought I had right here. Let me find it. Our schema has gotten quite large. So business profile. There we are. So we could see what it's expecting in the schema. And we could see, okay, so logo is expecting a string, which is going to be the URL. So we can go over here and add in, now that I just lost my place, let's add in logo. And this is going to be our image URL. Okay, so right now, when the user fills this data in and we hit submit, we make a create business profile call. So we have a mutation called create business profile, and I'll show you. Let's see. A lot of this stuff is auto-generated by Amplify. All right, so there's some magic happening in the background that we don't explicitly see. But basically, AWS Amplify provides us with this API function. And we can say api.graphql. We pass in our query name, which is this create business profile. It's called a mutation. So in GraphQL, if you just want to get data, so you're just reading data, it's called a query. If you actually want to create or update data, it's called a mutation. Okay, so in this case, we're actually creating a new business profile. So it's a mutation. And then we're passing variables. We pass a variable called input, and then input has all these values, right? And they correspond to the values in our form. Right, so what we can do now is actually try to run this and see. I don't know if this is going to work because the backend did need to be updated, and I'm not sure if the update went through. So let's do a business name. So I'm just going to say test business at your mom's house. That's just a joke. It was Mother's Day, so let's say your mom's house. Business email, test@test.com. Owner ID. Now this just needs to be a string because it could be an ID, so I'm just gonna put a random string 555 for phone number, and then the personal email is optional, so I'm not even gonna put that in. We have our URL, so I'm gonna say let's go to our network, and we should be able to see right away if this is gonna work or not. So I'm gonna say create business profile. Hey, what do we get back? Nice, we got data back. So it returns the business profile. So right now we officially have a new business profile created on the back end, and it has the data, test business, ID, logo, name. Why is logo null? All right, so our logo was null, which is definitely not what we wanted. Let's figure out why that was. It could just be because I saved the form, but that doesn't make any sense. All right, let me go back to the live chat for a second. Maybe my brain will figure out what happened while we're reading here. Let's see. Drew says, so I asked Drew about Tailwind to see says all the utility classes, it's pretty easy to configure. The way it was explained to me that it would be easy to onboard new devs since it's fairly easy syntax to learn with extensive documentation. That's always good. Great documentation is awesome. So Michael Creel says REST get equals GraphQL query. Yep, that's perfect. Like in REST, if you're familiar with the REST API, a get is basically the same thing as a GraphQL query, and a post then would be the same thing as a GraphQL mutation for the most part. Drew says file uploads are always annoying. Yeah, for sure. File uploads are kind of annoying. It did take me a little bit to figure out how to upload the image and how to convert it into base 64. Shout out to Mozilla Developer Network for helping me out with that one. It's a great resource. All right, so we do need to figure out why this logo is null, because we definitely added this in. What we can do, number one, is make sure I saved it properly. So it's possible that I didn't hit save, and we can do a complete refresh. So before I go changing any code, let's just try it again while actually saving this. All right. Now our development environment on the back end is going to have a million copies of Bill Murray's face in it. So I'm just going to do this. There we go. I'm not even going to try this time. I'm just going to put in test stuff for everything, and let's try it again. See if we still got null. All right, cool. We didn't get null this time. So yeah, I believe it was probably just that I forgot to hit save. So that's a good lesson. If stuff doesn't work, double check to make sure you save the document. So cool. So now we have a business profile created with this data. Let's see if we can see the business profile. So if we go back to the home screen, yeah, we can see our business profiles here. All right, but what we don't see is that image. So let's pull in that image. So we see our business ID. We see right now the business owner is hard coded. We'll change that, and we can change the business owner since we put that data in, and we can change the image. So let's do that. So we still have some time left before my meeting. And I believe this is just a home welcome screen, right? Let me see. Nope, that's not it. Home screen? Yeah. Home screen. All right, so we are actually getting the logo data and email ID. Let's see. Logo data phone number. Let's pull in the correct data. So here is a GraphQL query in which we're just getting data. So the data we're getting is basically the logged in user. So there's a login screen that I already went through to get to this point. But when you log in, it's getting all the business profiles associated with that user. And then we're displaying, we're getting just this data for those profiles. So we don't exactly have all the data we need yet, because we need the owner ID. So let's add that in and say owner ID. Oops, that's capital. So it's owner ID. So we have the owner ID now. And let's go down to our, we're mapping over profile, and we're sending the business ID. Now the business owner, which was hard coded, we can now change to profile dot owner ID. And this is actually a TypeScript file, so we're getting that nice auto completion. But we're going to add another prop. Okay, and we'll go into the business profile component and edit that to be able to accept this prop. But we're going to add in the logo as well. And this will be profile.logo. Okay, and now you see I keep putting this question mark here. This is optional chaining. Okay, it's a newer syntax. And this basically is the same thing as if I were to say profile and, so which would be like if there is a profile, then do this. Or if I wanted to write it out longer, it would be if there is a profile, then send the profile logo. Otherwise, null. Okay, so that's the long way to do it. The short way to do it is simply profile question mark dot logo. Okay, that way, if the profile doesn't exist, it won't throw an error. It just won't continue to go on. Otherwise, you're going to try to get the property logo off of null, which is going to throw an error. Okay, so you can see I'm getting a little red line here because it's saying, hey, you don't have a property called logo, which is true. We don't have that yet. So let's find our business profile component. And we're going to go here and we're going to add in logo. And I haven't converted this over to TypeScript yet. Otherwise, we would say logo is type string, but we haven't done it yet. And we don't really have an image here. We just have image placeholder. So we have this div instead of an image. So let's change this div. Well, here, let's do this. We're going to say if there is a logo, then we're going to actually display an image. We're going to give it a source of logo, alt of the alt is going to be logo for, actually, let's do it like this. We're going to use our template literal syntax. Logo for, and we're going to say, oops. So template literal syntax lets you interpolate a string more easily with variables. So this part here is a string, and when we do $ curly brackets, we can put JavaScript inside there. So this one is just going to say business ID. So now, for like accessibility purposes, this would say it's a logo for whatever business ID we gave it. And we're going to close out our image tag. Now we're going to put our colon to display this. Let me save that so we get formatting. Will it auto format? Oh, it didn't auto format. I don't know if I have that set up on this project or not. But basically what we're saying is if a logo exists, we're going to display that logo. Otherwise, we're going to display a placeholder. Now, we probably want to limit the size of this placeholder to whatever that size is. So yeah, you can see the size is quite large. So we want to limit that. Let's find our image placeholder styles and see where. So it's 80 by 80. Okay, so let's make a new style. Let's call it logo. Let's call it business logo, just like we did for the other one. So business logo, and we're going to say width 80, height 80, and this is pixels. Now we should be able to add in class name And in React, since it's JavaScript based, class is a reserved word. So it's like a special word in JavaScript. So we can't use class. That's why we use class name instead. So class name, oops, needs to be equals. And then it's going to be classes dot business logo. Why? I don't know why it's giving me. Whoops. It's giving me an error because I put it inside the curly bracket. There we go. Okay. Now it should be small. There we are. It's smaller, but it's definitely. We need to put some padding on the side. So I'm just going to copy these margins and put them down here. If we wanted to be fancy, we could probably create a style that was width, height, and margins, and then apply it both here to image placeholder and business logo. So that would be kind of a good refactor to do. But I'm not going to do it right now because when the first time through, you make it work, right? And then the next time through, you make it right, right? So, and then the next time through, you make it fast. Is that the order? I think that's how it goes. All right, let me check the chat again. Drew says MDN always coming in clutch for sure. MDN, that's Mozilla Developer Network. That is a key resource. If you haven't checked that out yet, I definitely recommend it. Kirk says Bill Murray, senior developer. Yeah, Bill Murray is awesome. As if you've never watched Bill Murray in a movie, definitely recommend it, or watch some of his old stuff, his old comedy stuff. Just check out Bill Murray. He's one of the best comedic actors. At least I think so. All right. So now we have real data coming in. Here's our test business that we put in with when I forgot to save, so we didn't get a logo. And then here's our second try, which actually worked, which was our test business. We have our business ID, our business owner. We can view details. Let's see if this works. Okay, not yet. So we still have our details page, which we need to. Oh, let's see if we'll have time to set this up. I don't know if we'll have time to complete this, but let me explain what needs to happen next. So basically, we have some data from this business, but we need to link to a page where then we would list the full amount of data, right? So business ID, business owner, we would be able to edit that profile, which is a different mutation. Okay, and then we would have some analytics associated with it. So there's two ways I think we could go about doing this. One way is just to pass that data, since we already have the data about that business. We could just pass that data in and use it in this page, or we could pass the ID of the business in, and when the user goes to this page, we could say like, so you'd have business profile detail as the URL, and I know it's small up at the top of the screen, so you might not be able to see it, and then it would say slash, potentially slash, or like maybe a query string, and then it would say something like business ID, whatever the business ID is. We would then grab that ID from the URL every time a user came to that page, and then make a query to the back end to get all the data for that business. I think that's the better way to do it, because then we could link to this directly. Otherwise, you would never really be able to link to this directly. You would always have to start here and then click to go in. Okay, so it would result in an extra call to the back end, but then you would have like the ability to link basically to any page in here. Does that make sense? All right. Oh, we got some questions here. Let me see. Newbath says, I have a problem in my Flask project. Can you help me out? Unfortunately, I don't know anything about Flask, so I won't be able to help you out on there. If somebody else watching knows about Flask, maybe you could take a crack at it. The question is, I've hosted my Flask project on Heroku. How do I keep the Heroku server updated as it runs the code only once? Okay, so not not really sure. I have used Heroku just to do like a demo project on once before, but that was a long time ago. So I don't have any knowledge of Flask and very limited knowledge of Heroku. So apologies on that one, Newbath. But I won't be able to help you on that one. Hey, Steven's here. How's it going, man? Michael Creel says, accessibility wise, shouldn't alt text be set as a pronounceable phrase for screen readers? So maybe business name and set the key to business ID. Okay, that's interesting. Let's go back to that. So we were talking about accessibility, and I assume you're talking about where we did logo for business ID. So set key to business ID. Maybe there was just a delay because it looks like that's what we did. Or maybe you said instead of logo, it would be business name. Michael, let me know what you were thinking if I'm on the right track here with this, because um, I mean, to be honest, for this particular project, because it's an admin panel and there's only going to be for now a few people working on it, it's not going to be available to the general public. But normally, you would want to make sure you get all the um, alt attributes and things. Oh, okay. Michael's a little bit behind, so I think we're good here. Normally, you definitely want to add in, at the very least, alt attributes for all your images. But for now, this should work for us. Newbath says, should I learn React? I already know Flutter. To be honest, like, if you already know Flutter and you just want to make, stop me if I'm wrong, but I believe with Flutter now, you can make iOS, Android, and web apps. I think that's possible. I myself have never used Flutter, so I'm not that knowledgeable about it. But it depends on what your goal is, right? So it seems to me that there's a lot more React and React Native jobs out there right now, at least, than Flutter. In the future, who knows? That may change, but right now, that seems to be what the job market is like. It could be I just see more job opportunities because I am a React and React Native developer. So if your goal is to try to be open to more job opportunities, then it's never a bad idea to learn React and React Native because the job market is just so hot right now for those developers. But if your goal is simply to be able to create apps and you already know Flutter, I don't really see why you would need to learn React because you can make like the same, um, you could basically make the same type of apps with that. Newbeth also asked, can you make tutorials on GraphQL? Yeah, I actually could. I haven't made tutorials in a while, but I don't see why I couldn't do it. I'll add it to my list. I do have a list of things people have suggested that I make videos on, and occasionally when I have some time, I go through that list and I pick a topic and make a video on it. So I can add that to the list. That would actually be a pretty good thing to do. I like GraphQL, and it'd be awesome if there were more GraphQL APIs available. So I'll add that to the list. And I think actually I'm gonna wrap the stream up in a few minutes. So I have a meeting coming up in about 10 minutes. So it'd be cool to have a little break before I go right into my meeting. I don't know about you, but I just get tired. So live streaming tires me out, but then also sitting in Zoom meetings tires me out as well. I actually don't use Zoom. My team uses Discord for meetings right now, but you know how it is. Video meetings are very tiring. Newbeth says, keep on your good work. All the best. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. All the best to you as well. Yeah, so thanks for everybody for watching and participating and all your help in the live chat. I'll probably do some more streams with this. This was fun. Um, I know every time I do a stream, I always say I'm going to do more streams soon, but it takes a little bit of time to set up the stream, and it takes a lot of energy to do the stream. So I usually have great intentions of streaming more, and then I don't. But I do have at least the intention of streaming more often. And when you all show up uh, and comment and everything, then that gives me more incentive to stream. So I really appreciate it. Um, all right, so yeah, I'm gonna wrap things up. If you have any questions, if you're watching this later on, you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. I do read all the comments and respond to the comments. And my social media info is on my YouTube channel. So if you don't want to put something in the comments, you could always DM me on some social media platform. I will respond there as well. So everybody, to everybody watching, have a great day. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.